It's easy to get back and forth on whether these earmarks are a good thing or bad thing. And you're not alone if you've gone back and forth already in the last few minutes. Congress has done the same two-step, one step in, one step out. And a journalist I spoke with has been covering this dance for more than a decade firsthand. Daniel Newhauser at National Journal, who gave me the scoop on how we got to this point on earmarks and how open Congress is at this point to another change. Daniel, you have been writing about earmarks and Congress for the last decade. So give me a background. When did they fall out of favor with the majority of Congress, if they ever did, and how did that happen?
It was essentially driven by conservative Republicans in the late 2000s after there were some pretty significant scandals that rose to the sort of the top of the public consciousness. Duke Cunningham, prestigious member of Congress at the time, was sent to jail for taking bribes in exchange for getting earmarks into the appropriations process for pet projects. So after the Cunningham thing, Republicans had just had enough, and once they took control of Congress, they said, "That's it. This has gotten out of control, and we're just going to do an across-the-board ban of all earmarks."
Did you feel like it was more about optics or principles? Because, we still have earmarks in a way. It's not so specific to say this is going to this playground on this plot of land, but they still exist.
It's not that the money isn't getting spent per se. It's just not getting spent on certain things. And so members of Congress from smaller states off the beaten path, Missouri and Alaska, they're frustrated because nobody's going to want to spend money in their state. For members of Congress, this can make or break their career, and it can really help their standing back home. Not to mention, some of these projects are actually needed. Now, the problem is, how do you parse that necessary function of Congress from the abuse that was clearly shown to happen? It went way too far.
I wonder if they were to decide, let's make a go of it, could Republicans conceivably in this Congress reverse course and make earmarks again officially acceptable?
There's no way that this could ever happen. I don't want to say ever, but it's really going to be very tough because this was such a political decision. Republicans ran on this when Democrats were in control about pork barrel spending and earmarks, and it was so contentious that for them to bring it back, it would be almost political suicide.
If they were to try to attempt this, that they could put bumper guards around themselves to where you don't wind up with a $300 million bridge that affects a few thousand people.
Certainly bringing transparency to the whole matter would be the number one safeguard, because any member would be probably scared to propose some huge project and all this millions of dollars to something that could be perceived as being really worthless.
The message out of the White House can change very quickly on any number of issues. This would be a hot button that gets people really riled up.
Well, Trump brought it up as almost even a throwaway. It didn't seem as if it was a well-thought-out administrative position. He just kind of said, well, maybe we could use earmarks again. And I think what he was responding to was the fact that they do have a pretty important purpose as the lubricant of democracy. It used to be back in the day, members would kind of say no and wring their hands about a certain issue until leaders said, okay, well, how about if I give you, X amount of money for this, so-and-so project in your backyard? And then they'd say, oh, okay, well, now that changes things. Maybe I'm a little bit more into that project now.